Hello. What is my hair doing? I really need to start looking. Oh, and I'm dripping my tea as well. This is it's live. I'm just having a break from my sewing in my little workroom, and this keeps coming so fast and hard today that I feel like I just need to talk about it. So I'm going to talk to you about it. This is the next video. Okay, so this video is all about perspective, and it's very important that we learn, all of us, that everyone looks at things, sees things, feels things, reacts to things, navigates things from a completely different perspective. Everybody sees things and that's the word I'm looking for, experiences things in a completely different perspective to what you do. So when someone doesn't agree with you or doesn't see things from your point of view, our natural reaction is to feel offended, it's always a negative emotion, a negative reaction to somebody in disagreement. Now, in regards to perspective, it's a very important word because there's lots of things associated with what makes up your perspective. So, say, for example, this is going to sound weird, but it will help. So the camera is looking up at me while I'm sitting on the chair. I haven't got any setup or anything. I'm just doing this just as it comes. So you've got one perspective of me, a visual. And then if someone walked in the door, I would turn my gaze and look up at them like that so that they would have a perspective on me. So now that I've changed the way that I am, you see me differently. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to you. That's your perspective of what's actually happening with me. And if I pick up the phone and start moving it around, and you can start seeing little bits of my workroom, then you have lots of different perspectives on me. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because the perspective I don't want you to see is up my nose. So the more perspectives we have on a topic, a person, a place and time in history, a chosen topic, whatever the thing that we want to have an opinion on, expectation on, or to experience, the more perspectives we have on that thing, the better we are to experience it, really. So I always say to people, even if you're not interested in that thing, or even if you're not interested in that person, or even if you're not keen, or it's not an interest of yours to experience that thing, it is better to try and at least be curious of that thing, whatever that may be, person, place, thing, time, because it might not be the actual thing that you learn something from. It could be something in that experience that you learn from. And I hope that helps. So like when the storyline that was coming to my mind, and the reason why I am doing these coaching workshops is because there's blocks that we have and blocks that we are socially engaging with and that become very habitual to us, are easily breakable. And hence why I'm sort of doing these videos, is because once we get those like aha moments and it's like something resonates with, it's like, oh fuck, why didn't, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. And you can move past something that was keeping you back so quickly, and as if it was never there, just having that little snippet of information, a different perspective. This is what I'm trying to do. So you might not agree with every single thing that I say. You might not like every single word I say. You might not like every video that I post. But the idea is that I'm trying to keep what I'm talking about quite broad, so that it might not be about the chosen topic. It may just be a story that I tell, or it may just be something that I've brought up in the video, or maybe the way that I address a certain topic. There's lots of different reasons why, seeking out information, learning things about yourself and the world around you and other people, and sitting down and actually being a student, where it can massively change your perspective on something that was holding you back, or that you find a real big block in your life. I've done a money course last week, and it was so helpful, but in the most simplest way, and things that I already know, but just changing my perspective. I am constantly in the mode of being teacher and student all the time, and every single coaching session, every single person I work with, every single video, every single interaction, whether that be work related or just a conversation or a phone call or whatever it is, I'm constantly in student mode, and I'm constantly taking in information and how people speak to me, and reactions I get, and words that they say, and experiences. It's constantly all going into the bank to give me a broader, more expanded perspective on the world around me through different situations, through human interaction, so that I can experience it in a way that is quite profound. Well, I find it profound. Profound is my favourite word at the moment, because I'm just so in it. I'm so in the energy. Okay, so one of the topics that I brought up in my reel on Instagram was the fact that I sold my house. Well, I bought my house outright whilst I was living on benefits. And I wanted to speak about this because I think like it's a good way to discuss a perspective on a certain point, and it really might help you pass the block. And this is just one of the ways. So when my little boy was 2 weeks old, we found ourselves in a 5-bedroom house and without a job. And I say we because obviously my little boy was part of that, and it affected him, obviously. I didn't have a job, and I wasn't entitled to maternity pay at the time because I was self-employed and I had my own business before, so I wasn't entitled. So I was pretty much up shit's creek without a paddle. And at the time, I had a 5-bedroom house to look after, and I know that sounds very, very privileged, but at the time it didn't seem like a big privilege, because without any money I had to run that house. And my first couple of weeks in doing that was literally running around freaking out, and trying to find someone to lend me some money, and it was just pure panic. First week was just pure panic, and then once I'd sort of calmed myself down and got over the shock of what was happening, I started to get Gemma back in the room and start asking, what are you capable of? What are you prepared to do? And I rung round everyone and asked people to lend me money. That wasn't an option. And then I started to panic a little bit more, then reined it back in, and then thought, right, okay, what am I actually prepared to do at this point? Right, what are the options? Weighed up all the options and decided to get the biggest loan that I could possibly get at that time, like max that I could get. And I ended up getting it, and that was great. And that was due to a lot of hard work of keeping my credit up. And at the time, I had already got a loan out, so I used some of the money to pay that off. But the long and short of it is, I got this humongous loan, and in a time when I wasn't working, I didn't have any way to pay it back. And pretty much everyone that I spoke to about it was just like, Gemma, that's horrendous. Like, what are you doing? I think you've made a bit of a boo-boo. You've made a mistake. Like, shock. You know, like, this is dangerous. But they couldn't see what I saw. Now, I know my work ethic. I know what I'm capable of. I know the relationship I had with my son. I knew that we could do it. I knew, and when I say that, I mean we had a great relationship, and I worked around him completely. So he had full autonomy over his naps and when he went to bed and all this kind of stuff. And in doing that, it gave me freedom because he was relaxed and he was sleeping and he slept well. I'm going to do a post about this, about sleep training and stuff for kids and babies. I'm going to do a separate post about that, so I'm not going to talk about that now. And so I was left to be able to work. Now, I chose to invest pretty much all of that money. So I paid off all my debts with the loan, and I completely transformed one of the rooms in the house that I was living in into a studio. I had the windows done, I had the floor done, like I went all out and did it very plush. And yeah, it looked fantastic. I spent a lot of money on it. I also kept money back for my bills and things like that, to, you know, like a bursary. I literally put every penny of that money to investing in our well-being, our, you know, food on the table, and in my business. I bought sewing machines, with one that I'm sat at now. So funny that, yeah, okay, alignment there. And I worked my ass off. As soon as my studio was set up, I began work, and I literally worked my ass off. Every time my little boy slept, I was working. In the evening, in the day, whenever I could get any work, I did so much free work to try and get my name out there, and it worked. And I managed to pay so much of my loan off. I kept my payments, and I managed to keep the house running, and I succeeded in my mission anyway. And the money that I spent in investment into the house only added more value to the house as well. I ended up leaving, basically over the space of 3 years, I spent every penny that I earned, put it back into the property, by doing little bits up, doing the painting, you know, doing the garden. It all went back into the house to invest into the house. And then we ended up selling the house for 160,000 more than we bought it for. And that was because of the work that I'd done, because of lockdown, because of house prices. Like, there was a lot of factors in that, but I trusted in my ability to be able to do up the property. Now, I've done properties before. It's a skill that I have, so I knew that it was something that I could call on when shit hit the fan. But when I was discussing my plans with with friends and family and people around me, the reason why they were panicking is because they couldn't see my vision. They don't feel my work ethic. They don't know what I'm capable of. And yeah, they will support me and cheerlead me and, and all that kind of thing. But nobody can see what you see. And so many people were trying to talk me out of what I was doing. I don't think anyone supported my vision of being able to do up the house. No one did. And the reason why I did it is because I knew that I would be able to achieve a life-changing amount of money from it. I knew it. I already had the figure in my head, what I was working towards, and I achieved that. And I don't want to say this as like, ooh, I'm amazing or anything like that. The point I'm trying to make is, if you're going after something, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, then you need to go at that dream. You don't have that vision for no reason. Like, if you can build it in your mind, it's already happened, and I promise you that. But it's whether you want to turn and face it and show up and go after it. That is the thing that you need to decide on. Anything that you can build in your mind has already happened. Like I talk about this in other videos. If you can dream it, if you can build it, if you see yourself living in a different country, if you see yourself, I don't know, doing a certain job or being with a certain person, if you do everything that you can to reach that goal, then why can't it happen? Why can't you make it happen? It's just, what are you prepared to do to be able to reach that goal? And nobody else is going to be able to tell you that. Nobody else is going to be able to say, yeah, you're going to do it. And even if they do, how do they know, really? They can go on like your past experiences and things like that, but that's, so, a lot of things could happen. I mean, like, I had some really hairy moments, and it was a food or heating kind of situation. But I lived to tell the tale. My son didn't know any different. He was living a life of luxury, and for me, it's a massive win on all aspects. I want to be able to give you this kind of belief in yourself that you can go after the things that you want and you can achieve, even in the most difficult situations. And having perspective is massive, because number one, perspective on your ability. Are you going to be able to knuckle down? Are you going to be able to give up the self-gratification or the what's the word I'm looking for? Like quick gratification for something that is long lasting. Like 3 years for me was a very long time to get to my goal. Well, it was two and a half years. But I knew what would be the end goal. The end game is always so much better than the little goals that you get on the way, if that makes sense. Like, if you could dream up your life, dream the dream, all the other stuff just seems like it's not even worth it when you know that you can get the real deal, that real feeling. Even if you had it for 5 minutes, that 5 minutes is better than not having it at all. That's the way I was thinking anyway. And it's discipline. Like, people don't understand your level of discipline. Do you understand your level of discipline? Because that's what it takes to get you to a better perspective. Now I can look at the world completely differently because I've done that. And also struggle as well. People can't feel your struggle. Nobody else is going to be prepared to work as hard as you for the thing that you want. I hope that makes sense. Did that come out right? I hope so. And also when you're supporting somebody else, or if somebody's telling you their dreams, have a think about how you would want to be spoken to if you were relaying what you want and your hopes and your desires. Are you going to say, no, I don't think that's a good idea? What perspective are you standing on or standing at to say that that's not a good idea? Is it not a good idea for you, or is it not a good idea for them? And how do you really know? Like, when we put our opinions and expectations on people, where are we standing to be able to do that? Does that make sense? Like, if you've experienced it and it didn't go very well, that's based on your experience rather than theirs. Their experience could be completely different. Now, I know when everyone was saying to me, Gemma, you're crazy, and all this kind of stuff, that they don't know me well enough as a person, and you don't really know people that well, and there could have been a lot of things to mess it up that happened in between. How I deal with those things is another experience. They don't know about that. Like, for example, I gave up drinking, I gave up cigarettes, and I literally, obviously it was in lockdown as well, so it was a little bit easier to save money, but I gave up a lot of stuff, a hell of a lot of stuff, to be able to achieve what I've achieved. And for me, it's not even, it doesn't even feel like I gave up anything. I just constantly feel like it's winning. I mean, giving up smoking was the best thing I've ever done in my life. I'm so grateful. Like, to me, that's like the pinnacle, massive, I'm free, from that kind of addiction. And giving up smoking I thought was going to be the hardest thing in the world. I gave up pretty much everything else so easily, because I thought, if I can give up smoking, and how addictive it is, then everything else is just going to be a piece of piss, really, isn't it? But yeah, I hope that helps. Perspective.